Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived an elderly woman. Her silver hair and wrinkled face told of her many years, but her eyes sparkled with kindness and joy. Despite her age and challenges, she was always cheerful, and the villagers loved her for her warmth and positivity. The old woman lived alone in a cozy little house by a grand banyan tree. Her husband had passed away long ago, and she had no children, but she never complained. She would sit beneath the tree, talk to the villagers, and always greet them with a smile. The people in the village worked hard. Some were farmers, others carpenters, and many worked in the small market. But life wasn't always easy. Sometimes the rains didn't come, and crops withered. At other times, illness struck, and people couldn't work. Worry and sadness often hung in the air. One day, a young woman named Radha came to the old lady. She was crying, her face filled with anxiety. "I don't know what to do," Radha said. "My husband went to the city to find work, but he hasn't sent any money. My children are hungry, and I'm scared." The old lady looked at Radha, her face softening with understanding. "Sit down, my dear," she said gently. "Tell me, what do you think will happen?" Radha wiped her tears. "I don't know. I feel like bad things are going to happen. What if my husband can't find work? What if he forgets about us?" The old lady shook her head. "Radha, when we think about the bad things, we only make ourselves feel worse. But if we focus on the good, we can feel better. And sometimes, good things come our way." "But how can I think good thoughts when everything is so bad?" Radha asked. The old lady smiled and said, "Let me tell you a story." Radha listened intently as the old woman began. "Once, there was a poor man who had nothing. No food, no money, and no family. One day, he sat by the river, crying. An old woman came to him and asked, "Why are you crying?" The man replied, "I have nothing. How can I be happy?" The woman smiled and said, "But you have the river, you have the trees, you have the sun. Look around you. Beauty and life are everywhere. If you focus on what you don't have, you'll always be sad. But if you focus on what you do have, you will find peace." The man stopped crying. He began to notice the good things around him: the river, the trees, the sunshine. And from that day forward, his life began to change. The old lady looked at Radha and said, "You see, my dear, the man's life didn't change because of magic. It changed because he changed his way of thinking. When we think positively, our hearts feel lighter, and we can face our problems with strength." Radha thought for a moment, then asked, "Do you really think changing my thoughts can change my life?" The old lady nodded and smiled. "Yes, if you wake up every morning and tell yourself, 'Today will be a good day,' you will find the strength to care for your children, to work hard, and to wait for your husband with hope. But if you only think about what might go wrong, you will feel sad and weak." Radha nodded slowly. "I understand. I will try to think good thoughts from now on." "That's the first step, my child," the old lady said kindly. Radha left the old woman's house with a lighter heart. Every morning, she reminded herself that today would be a good day. She worked hard, took care of her children, and prayed for her husband's safe return. A few weeks later, Radha received a letter from her husband. He had found a job in the city and was sending money home. Radha was overjoyed. She ran to the old lady's house to share the good news. The old lady smiled and said, "You see, my dear, when we think positively, we invite good things into our lives. Problems will always come, but with a hopeful heart, we can face them and overcome them." Soon, other villagers came to the old lady with their troubles. She shared the same advice with each of them. Think good thoughts, and good things will come. The villagers, inspired by her wisdom, began to feel better and stronger, and they too embraced the power of positive thinking. The old lady's words changed the lives of everyone in the village, and they loved her even more for it. She had taught them the greatest lesson of all, the power of positive thinking. This story teaches us the power of positive thinking in overcoming life's challenges and finding happiness. When we focus too much on our problems and difficulties, we often feel discouraged and weak. But when we shift our focus to the good things in our lives, our hearts feel lighter, and we are better equipped to face our struggles. The greatest lesson from this story is that we should keep our thoughts positive, because positive thinking not only gives us inner peace, but also invites good opportunities and happiness into our lives.